Cheers, I do buckers. How that I am for the Whiskey Whisper for the purpose of this video anyway. Hey, I've got some Sister Lucille playing in the background if you can hear them. They are a local band, but they are busting out national on the blues charts, man, both here and abroad, man. They're taking off, man. This particular song starting off, I put it on a shuffle, so it's Soulful Dress from their new release, Tell the World. Anyways, so I call this, I like to have fun with cocktails, y'all know that. So this is either Missouri Manhattan or Manhattan by way of Missouri, because I've taken a few liberties, but it is based on the classic Manhattan. So I'm using the Ben Holiday Missouri Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It's a bottled and bond, so it's obviously at 100 proof, aged a minimum of 4 years. I use 3 ounces of this particular whiskey. But in place, why I call this Missouri is in place of a sweet vermouth, I've used this instead. I've used the Keltoy Celtic Goddess dessert wine, described as a port-like wine. I don't call it a port, but a port-like wine. So it's a fortified wine at 18%. In place of the sweet vermouth. And I've used cherry bitters to add to that, that aromatics and maybe a little bit of the sweetness as well. Let me show you how beautiful that cocktail is in this particular glass. I love using this glass for my Manhattans. My wife only found one of these at a thrift store in the Joplin area when we were out there for St. Patrick's Day. Oh, it's gorgeous. That's a cocktail, baby. I got a second one coming up. I'll explain to you in a little bit, but I wanted to do this one first. Do 2 cocktails with you. Do like that glass. It's perfect Manhattan glass. I'm using a Collins bourbon soaked the dark cherry as the garnish. Yeah, if you got a Marasca, if you've got a Luxardo, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The truth is, though, there are more inexpensive options that are just as good and just as quality. Some folks want to say you have to use this exact cherry. No, you don't. Luxardos are great. They are. So are the Marascas. But the truth is, these Collins are a little bit less, and they're just as good. And if I didn't tell you it wasn't one of those, you wouldn't know the difference. I'd say what I've also done, though, is I've bought various sour cherries and have taken the juice out and aged them in different things. And, if I don't tell you it's not one of these, you don't know the difference either. Truth is, don't be afraid to experiment. These are cocktails, man. They're not commandments handed down from God to Moses. So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. Some folks get a little too rigid about their cocktail. Oh, it has to be like this. No, it doesn't. You have to use this whiskey. No, you don't. It can be anything you want it to be. Don't let anybody tell you different. I had a great video earlier, man. So my official At the Pub video this evening was with the one, the only, the great, the one, the only. I hope we had some technical difficulties, but we got through it. It's my fault. I hit a button. I didn't realize I hit it at the time, and I was trying to do one thing and I did something else. Anyway, good little dead space, but we recovered. That was a lot of fun, though. It was nice. We talked about a lot of things. We even got into politics a little bit, much to some folks' chagrin. The truth is, I don't necessarily, jump into politics, but I'm not going to shy away from it either, because this is what happens at a pub. You can talk religion, you can talk politics. There was a time where we could talk to a few folks with a differing opinion and not wind up hating them at the end of the night. But I don't know what happened to our society when we just don't have the ability to do that anymore. But then again, we've become a certain segment of society that wants to deny science, that wants to, make intellectualism, being intelligent, making that I don't know, making an issue. I mean, you know, we should embrace science. We should look at, you know, we should not embrace the dumbing down of America, which is what is happening right now. Hey, if you want to homeschool your kids, I don't give a red test. I really don't. They're your kids. Do whatever you want with them. But if folks are in public school, they ought to be able to learn the truth. And the truth isn't what you decide it is. Hey, Peter, how are you, man? The truth isn't what you decide it is. The truth is the truth. So we should teach the truth about our country and not some watered down version because it makes you feel more comfortable. We've done a lot of bad things, and it's not that we necessarily should be proud of our country, but we should embrace our mistakes as well and teach them to the youth so they don't make the same mistakes that our forefathers made. I mean, our founding fathers, as great as you might want to tout them as, certainly had some flaws as well. Uh, Holding slaves is one of them, but there are many others, and we shouldn't shy away from teaching that truth. The fact that you have a certain segment of society that doesn't want to teach that truth, well, that's a problem. We can't control what homeschool does. We can't control what private school does. But public school ought to be able to teach the unabashed truth. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it, Peter? I mean, there isn't a national language or religion, but you have folks that think there is because of that dumbing down of America. You have certain leaders that want to say, you know, or want to preach certain things or want to espouse certain things that just aren't true. And then you have that certain segment of society that wants to believe that, even though it isn't true. No, there isn't a national language. The folks say, well, you speak English, you're in America. Well, you know, so since we stole somebody else's country, maybe we ought to, you know, cut everybody a slack. But I'm going to paraphrase a John Stewart line. Basically, you know, we are a society that hates the newest immigrants. You know, the Chinese were hated, the Irish were hated. Every new immigrant that's ever come to this country was hated by the people that were here, even though we're all a country of immigrants. Well, you know, unless you're Native American. Unless you're Native American, and that's something that folks don't want to, you know, admit either. That you know, unless you're a Native American, you didn't start here originally. So why are you having an issue? It just doesn't make sense, does it? No, it doesn't, Tom. But you cannot educate those that refuse to be educated. You know, they breathe in these fallacies and they don't want to let them go. And no amount of truth is going to make them change their ways. I mean, it's the same way with folks that will still stand behind Trump, even though so much has come out. We know. I mean, this isn't opinion anymore. This is unabashed fact that he was the most corrupt president of our time, presiding over the most corrupt administration of our time. Just look at I mean, just count the indictments. I mean, this is an opinion, but you got folks that will say, well, what's your opinion, Tom? No, it's not my opinion. These are facts. These are provable facts. The fact that your little mind isn't able to absorb that, well, that's on you. Anyway. Cocktail hour. Oh, it's been a week, man. I am tired. I've been having this pain that I finally decided. I have this pain right here on the right side. So if it's on the left side, I might be concerned I'm having a heart attack. But it's up here between the nipple. It's up here between the nipple and the shoulder, but it's always worse at work. As soon as I get off work, it starts to subside. So I've decided it's work stress related. Yeah. So here's what I got. Let me show you, Peter. So I'm calling this the Missouri Manhattan, or Manhattan by way of Missouri anyway. So it is Manhattan inspired, but I have taken some liberties. I've got the Ben Holiday Missouri Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is out of Weston, Missouri, just a hair north of Kansas City. And in place of the sweet vermouth, I'm using the Celtic Goddess, dessert wine described by them as a port-like wine, but not a port. It's at 18%, so it's a fortified wine. So I'm using this in place of the sweet vermouth. So it basically does the same thing. Adds a sweetness and adds a little bit of that acidity that the sweet vermouth does, but just in a slightly different way, which is why I call it, Manhattan by way of Missouri or Missouri Manhattan. But the bitters I'm using just add a little bit of aromatics and a little bit of sweetness are the cherry bitters, the Fee Brothers cherry bitters, instead of your traditional Angostura or even an orange bitters that many like to use. Post your comments, Peter. I appreciate you tuning in, man. If you're drinking anything tonight, let me know. We'll discuss that. Oh, my wife found this glass at a thrift store in Joplin, or the Joplin area, I should say. But it's worked out. It got that little star in front. I don't know what it means in particular. But I just like it's a perfect glass for a Manhattan because a lot of upscale bars will serve a Manhattan in a glass very similar to this, so it works out perfect. Uh, Montezuma Red. Oh, these guys are just so awesome. The Sister Lucille, they're amazing. Just an incredible band. Sipping on Old Granddad 114. See, I knew what those letters meant. I knew what those letters meant. So, Keltoy Winery, yeah, they're just a little bit north of Joplin. Just a nice, nice little kind of mom and pop winery, if you will. But what I love about the place, when my wife and I first started discovering wine, it was the first place we went to, and they're so friendly, they're so welcoming, and they're so incredibly non-pretentious, right? They're exactly what you. Uh, they're not what you would expect a winery to be like, and they're just and we just love the place. We found it for the first time last May, and we've been there, well, a small handful of times since then, and we really enjoy the place. Well, Granddad 114 is kind of a classic. It is a value for the price point, right? Again, we talk about value. It is a fine bourbon. It was a nice bourbon for that price point at that 114. So at that 114, yeah, I mean, if you there's nothing wrong with drinking that whiskey neat. I do, yeah. So I do like that Stonehill sherry. I do. I buy it. I usually buy it. I drink more sherry during the wintertime. So that was my go-to, right? When I started replacing the sweet vermouth, I was using that Stonehill cream sherry in place of the sweet vermouth in my Manhattan. That was the first time I tried that, and since then I've tried different things. But yeah, the Stonehill sherry, that was kind of my go-to all through November through January. Actually, and that was my go-to. I drink it as is, obviously, but I would use that in place of the sweet vermouth. I love that Stonehill sherry. Yeah, it's good. It really is. Yeah, I mean, from Springfield, it's about an hour and 10 minutes. I mean, it's not that far. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive, but it's not. I mean, you can do it. But they're just such nice folks up there. That's kind of what drew us in is that they were so friendly and welcoming. When the first time we went through, we both admitted that we knew absolutely nothing about wine, and they took their time and explained things to us. And, uh, I think a tasting flight is $9, but you get a glass. You get the glass for free. I think you taste what, six wines, if I remember right. Like I said, you get the glass for free. So we were up there on St. Patrick's Day. We came the day. It was actually on Saturday, the day after St. Patrick's Day this year. They did their big Irish Luck Fest, and I won two of the raffles actually. So I got some of their wine, and I got some other folks' wine, and I got some glasses, and my wife got a T-shirt, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. It really was. Those guys are so awesome up there. And the products are quality and they're reasonable. They are less expensive than many smaller wineries, especially they're a little more affordable than say Branson wineries because they're not necessarily tourist oriented. If that makes sense to you. Thank you, I appreciate that, Jason. Again, I like to call it Manhattan, but it's more kind of a riff on a Manhattan, so I call it Mad by way of Missouri, because I use a Missouri bourbon. I'm going to assume you're just tuning in and didn't notice. I'm using the Ben Holiday bourbon. It's out of it's a bottled and bond bourbon out of Weston, Missouri. But in place of the sweet vermouth, I'm using a product out of Oronago, just a little bit north of Joplin, called Keltoy Winery. This is their Celtic Goddess, a dessert wine described as a port-like wine. It's a fortified wine. So I'm using that in place of the sweet vermouth, and I'm using cherry bitters. So anyway, I do have a second cocktail for you. This song kills me. It's a great tune. I love this song. My Name is Lucille. It took me, I can't believe it took me this long to figure out what the song was about, but I had to listen to it like 4 or 5 times before oh, good Lord. And I'm not going to say what it is, because if you listen to the song, you're gonna feel that smoky, a smoky lounge kind of feel the song has. And I hope you're smarter than I am and figure out what it's about quicker than I did, anyways. Oh my good Lord. There's some words in there that give it away, and I can't believe it took me that long to figure it out. But anyway, need to finish this up so I can go into my second cocktail with you. But that's delicious. Again, the cherry is the cherry that I'm using tonight is the Collins bourbon soaked cherries. But then again, use what you like. If you like the Luxardo, use the Luxardo. If you like the Marasca, use the Marasca. The truth is, I have the Collins, and I've bought various versions of the Collins. But I also, right now in my fridge, I have some sour cherries that I've drained the juice out of, and then I've filled back up with cream sherry. So they're sherry soaked cherries that I use upon occasion too. The truth is, don't be afraid to experiment. Use whatever you want. The Luxardos are great. There's no doubt about it. But they are a touch on the pricey side. That's why I do encourage folks to, look around and try other things. Because I'll be honest with you, these Collins cherries are just as good as Luxardos. But here's the thing. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't typically eat the cherries. For me, it's all about the garnish. I don't particularly like to eat anybody's cherries. Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, let me walk that back a second. But yeah, for me, it's more about the garnish. My name is Lucille, and I love the King. That should have gave it away the first time I heard that, but I did. It took me a minute to figure that out. I can't believe it took me that long to figure out what this song was about. A blues band. Why did it take you so long, Tom? I don't know. Oh. I do like the color that the Celtic Goddess blended with the bourbon gives it that nice, beautiful color. Anyway, here's to you. Okay, so for cocktail number 2, here's the thing. I had an idea. So I make this kind of concentrated lemonade syrup. So basically a simple syrup that I've added some lemon to. My wife and I will pour an ounce or 2 in a glass to make some lemonade. But in this case, I'm making a version of a whiskey sour, or a cherry whiskey sour anyway. So I've got the lemon and the cherry garnish in there because I've added some cherry bitters to it to enhance the cherry notes in this particular version of a whiskey sour. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh yeah. Picked up some lemons. Yeah, so I made the simple syrup, squeezed some fresh lemon in there. So yeah, it's like a concentrated syrup. So we can use that to make our own lemonade. But I decided to make a whiskey sour out of it here. I wanted to add the cherry notes, so I added the cherry garnish, as you see, and I added the cherry bitters to the whiskey sour as well. Oh, knew just how to bend my strings. How did it take me so long to figure out what the slowest spot? It makes me crazy now. So, oh my God, I listened to this 5 times before I knew what she was talking about. Oh my Lord. Sounds tasty. I'm trying to make simple syrup. So simple syrup is basically equal parts water to sugar. So if you use 1 cup of water, use 1 cup of sugar. However, here's the thing. Here's what I found anyway. I use raw sugar because it gives you a much cleaner product. If you want to use regular granulated sugar, there's nothing wrong with that. That's typically what most places are going to do. In fact, if you buy bar syrups or you see anything pre-made, they're going to get saying, high fructose corn syrup. But for me, you end up using less if you use a better product. So I like to use raw sugar. That's why my simple syrup always looks a little bit darker. So you don't need to be. So microwave it, right? You get so here's what you do. Get a 2-cup measuring cup, put 1 cup of water in there, put it in the microwave for probably a minute, depending on your microwave. If your microwave doesn't heat up a lot, give it a minute 15 or a minute 20, get it good and warm, and then pour your sugar in and just stir it real well. Make sure that gets all good and melted, and you got a perfect simple syrup. Yeah, I mean, that's how I did this one, man. I just microwaved it, got it good and hot. But use that 2-cup measuring cup, 1 cup of water, so you got room to add that 1 cup of sugar. And in this case, I added the juice of 1 whole lemon because I wanted the lemon simple syrup. But if you want just simple syrup, that's fine too. Don't add the lemon. I do different versions of this throughout the year. I mean, there are times I add rosemary to it. There are times I add various other herbs. It just kind of depends on what I'm going for with any given cocktail. Oh, that's a nice drink. I've sat here for 20 minutes, let it warm. I chilled it. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, actually, if you want, Peter, if you want to get in the video, let me know, and I can just send you the link, and you can jump in. Let me see here. We pull up the link. Bear with me. Bear with me a second. I'm not ignoring you. Devil in a red suit. So I'm giving you the link right now. If you want to jump in, just hit that link. It'll put you backstage, and I'll bring you up into the video if you want to come in. That's entirely up to you, but I've sent you the link. We'll see if Peter jumps on here in a second. see if he can fix it. Oh man, that cocktail is genius. Oh, that was good. Yeah, so again, simple syrup with some lemon. Is it a true whiskey sour? Well, it's up to you. Some say, well, you tell me you need that egg white on top. That's a Boston sour. Some will call that a whiskey sour, but a whiskey sour is really just simple like this. But I do love a Boston sour. Don't get me wrong. When you get that egg white foam on top, oh, that's a beautiful drink. Yeah, just hit that link. You got to go through Chrome. I should have mentioned that either, but or mentioned that too. So as soon as you hit that link, it'll ask you if you want to come in, and it'll send you backstage. But it'll show up here, and then I'll bring in the video. Want to tell the world. Get local music in the background if you can hear it. Oh, that's gorgeous, man. That's a cocktail, my friends. That's a cocktail, baby. That's a cocktail. Oh, my goodness. That is good. Want to tell the world. So while I'm waiting up here, I'll just keep talking. Yeah, for the whiskey sour, I changed the bourbon up a little bit using the America bourbon whiskey at 90 proof. Let me show you this product. A good cocktail product, if you will. So I used 3 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce of my lemon simple syrup mix, and then some of the cherry bitters. If you want it more tart, less whiskey, do even amounts. It's really up to you how you want to make your cocktail. The title cut to the album "Tell the World," Sister Lucille. That's a great album. Yeah, it's charting nationally, man. It's pretty amazing. These guys, this local band has really been busting out. They've been doing a lot of national dates too, a lot of Florida, a lot of Memphis. But man, they are tearing it up, man. Oh, there he is. Let me see. All right, Peter, can you hear me?
Yeah, Tom, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, man?
I can. Can you hear me?
There we go. Okay, let me see if I can adjust that volume a little bit, maybe. There we go. There we go. And talk to me.
Sorry for the cam quality. I thought I had my webcam hooked up, but
here we go. I lost it. Where'd it go? That's my feed there.
I think Tom shut himself off.
Did I lose you, Peter? Yeah. Well, if you're with me, I don't know what happened. Everything, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there, but if you want to come back on, just hit that link again. It'll jump you back in. Not sure what happened. Everything just kind of went off for a second. I can't figure out what happened. Anyway, anyways, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm very technologically challenged. I don't know what just happened there. That was weird. I was talking to you, then everything went blank. And anyway, if you want to hit that link and come back. Oh hell, what are you gonna do? Anyways, hey, shit happens. We're having cocktails on Thursday night. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, Perfect Whiskey Drinker, Preferred Wisdom, all rugged guy. Cheers.